regenerate the planet with blockchain. To start off, I want to acknowledge that our current rate of using the Earth's resources is not sustainable. We all know this. And in order to survive and thrive on this planet as responsible stewards of the Earth and our more than human friends, our animals, our plants, our ecosystems, we need to evolve beyond sustainability to regeneration. That means regeneration, collaborating to build systems that create more value than we extract. We can't keep using up the Earth without giving back. So today I'm going to talk about how we can use blockchain to give back to the Earth and achieve a regenerative future, and how Regen Network is implementing it. So, okay, there are several projects, lots of projects in development already with blockchain in the regenerative space. So I'm going to talk about Regen Network, and these are several others. There we go. In the space as well. So there are many characteristics of blockchain that make it excellent for helping out with regeneration. One of those is this concept of value. We get to completely redefine what is valuable in this world. We don't just have to listen to global governments and banks giving us fiat currencies. We can make our own currency based on anything we want. And to regenerate the planet, we need to make a currency that values natural capital. So natural capital, that's the sun, trees, soil that give us energy, oxygen, food. All of these things of value, so much value, but they're considered externalities in our current economic system. That doesn't make any sense, and we can't go on that way. Yeah, those things are not an external cost. They're some of the most valuable things that exist. All right, so decentralization. This is so key because for the first time, we can make agreements with each other as humans. We don't have to go through banks and global governments and institutions. Climate change, for instance, is an international opportunity that hasn't been addressed adequately by international institutions. So we don't have to wait for them anymore. We can just go ahead and make agreements with each other to improve our planet. And finally, the immutability of blockchain, right? So we have, for the first time, a transparent record of whatever we want to track, and in the case of Regen Network, we're tracking ecological information. So we have a place where everyone can access this information and we can trust it, in comparison to storing it all in a private database. We don't know what's happening in there, so this is a big improvement on that. So just a few words about some of these projects. You heard a little bit from Josh at Black Sheep, and you'll hear more from them today about what they're doing in Costa Rica to tokenize the regeneration of their land and trees. Nori is a carbon removal marketplace. They go way beyond carbon trading to actually make sure carbon is being actively sequestered from the atmosphere. Tiger Coin protects big cat habitat. Tree Coin, there are many tree coins. This one protects mangrove habitat. Mangrove is one of the most effective ways to sequester carbon. Solar Coin rewards producers of solar energy. So these are just a few examples of some of the amazing ways we can use blockchain to help the planet. Cool, all right. But mining, what about that? It uses so much energy. This is true, and again, slides, okay. At the current hash rate, Bitcoin uses 47 terawatt hours of energy a year, and that is equal to 23,000 kilotons of carbon dioxide added to the atmosphere every year. That is the size of a small country. And that's way less, actually. Bitcoin used to, just 6 months ago, Bitcoin was generating 73 terawatts. So when the value rises, the amount of energy rises, and that is a pretty insane energy expenditure. And this is all, of course, due to the proof of work system, on which Ethereum also currently relies. Yeah, that's not sustainable. A lot of energy used for mining is renewable, that's awesome, but not all of it. So this system just really, to me, does not have long-term viability. And I also want to note that fiat currencies also take a lot of energy to maintain, whether they're US dollars, Chinese yuan, Costa Rican colones, they all take energy. So Bitcoin and Ethereum are backed by the cryptographic work of the computers in their network. The US dollar is backed by the power of the American military and its ability to maintain strategic control over petroleum reserves and convince other countries to use the dollar to trade for those petroleum resources. So it all has a cost. And the US DoD uses 30 terawatts a year, so just for comparison, quite a lot. So, I'm going to talk about XRN. That is the native token of Regen network, and it is a cryptocurrency backed by the living health of planet Earth. So the architecture of our system requires just a few nodes, maybe 100 validator nodes. We're doing a proof of stake and proof of authority system, which I'll talk about in a minute. Our nodes will run on renewable energy. Our carbon footprint will be negative. So net sequestration of carbon. All right, how it works. So governments, nonprofits, companies, really future-looking brands are already very interested in a thing called regenerative agriculture. So agriculture that instead of pumping carbon into the atmosphere actually sequesters it as an asset in our soils and makes healthier plants. And so these groups are already paying farmers for ecosystem services. Things like planting more trees and building healthy soil. The US government, you wouldn't think this, but they pay billions of dollars to farmers for taking really good care of their land. Don't tell Donald Trump that. Verifying ecological outcomes. Currently, though, to do these payments is a really slow process, very bureaucratic. It might be years before farmers see rewards, if ever. So that's not a great system. And that's not going to be enough to incentivize farmers to engage in these practices. So with Regen Network, we use cutting-edge technology to track and verify ecological improvements at scale with blockchain and send these rewards to farmers through smart contracts. Right, so we're using blockchain, we're using artificial intelligence engineering, and we're using remote sensing in a really special way. We're combining all of those. So satellites and drones image the entire surface of the Earth multiple times a day now at very accurate resolution, sometimes 3 meters per pixel, even less. It's incredible, the technology of satellites today. And so we are using those images to train machine learning models to recognize different states of land and land use, and training those models to recognize ecological indicators that can tell us about the health of the land. So with pretty high certainty, we can predict soil health. We can predict plant cover and tree growth using images from satellites. So it's an automatic way of detecting ecological health around the world. And so when we discover whether these improvements have happened, that's what triggers a reward on blockchain. Yeah, so just an illustration. Combining these technologies, we have an unprecedented ability to understand the state of the planet and the ecological health of Earth. And using this information, this high-quality ecological knowledge, funders and farmers can make agreements with each other that are trusted to promote regenerative agriculture. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys about the tech a little bit. So farmers are using this system to make verifiable claims about ecological improvements to their land. The farmers are providing data, there we go, which runs through our system, the machine learning models, and those make a prediction based on a set of methodologies we call ecological state protocols. And so most of the time, our models will be able to predict with a pretty high certainty what is happening on the land. But for any cases that are inconclusive, we still send out a scientist to the field to make an in-person inspection of the land. And then that enhanced information helps us train our models to be even better. And so those results are time-stamped, evaluated, and saved to Regen Ledger, which is a transparent and immutable blockchain record. Cool. Cosmos. Has anyone here heard of Cosmos? Yeah, a few people. Cool, well you're about to hear a lot about it. Its mainnet is launching later this month, and it's a pretty big deal. We are really big fans of Cosmos at Regen Network because it has many amazing qualities. It's scalable, so it's a native proof of stake system. It is modular. Basically, it is an out-of-the-box blockchain you can customize however you want with some basic setup already included, basic modules every blockchain needs, authentication, banking, and then you build on top of it whatever modules you need for your blockchain. So that's what we're doing. And it's interoperable. You can transfer assets between blockchains. You can go between your network on Cosmos and Ethereum if you want. And by the way, you can actually implement Ethermint, if you're a big fan of Ethereum, which is an implementation of the Ethereum virtual machine that runs on the Tendermint consensus engine. So if you're getting a little impatient waiting for proof of stake to happen, consider Ethermint. Okay, so on top of this proof of stake, we're adding a proof of authority system. Like I said, we're not going to have that many validator nodes. We're just going to have the members of the Regen consortium running oracles and validators, and there won't be that many of them, maybe 100. These are institutions, colleges, research institutions, and nonprofits that are dedicated to promoting regenerative agriculture. And they will be authoring the ecological state protocols to evaluate ecosystem health. Yeah, and because it's a permission chain, we really don't need that many nodes. So that makes it extremely energy efficient. Cool. Yeah, so where we are today, Regen Ledger's testnet is live. Up and running. We are working very closely with Cosmos Foundation to help them improve their developer ecosystem and contributing to their code base as we build out our technology. And we are starting to run some pilot projects and using data from around the world to develop our machine learning models. Pilots in the US, in Peru, Ecuador, Barbados, and hopefully soon Costa Rica. We're working on it. Yeah, so blockchain, the foundation for the regenerative economy. Blockchain will allow us to generate an ecological knowledge commons that we can all benefit from. This high quality, trusted data on ecosystems around the world, we can really use that information to regenerate the planet. Cool. Thanks.
Anybody have questions for Claire? Any questions? Great topic. Carla, go ahead.
Thank you, Claire. Super interesting. I would love to talk with you later. But about the rewards, how those work and how the people from the communities can use those.
Yes, thank you so much for asking that. So Regen Network, we're focusing really on the capacity to build agreements. So allowing farmer groups and like natural products brands to make agreements with each other. And they can transact value with the XRN token, but our platform is actually agnostic as to whether payment actually happens with our token. It's really more about whether the contract has been satisfied, and that is what gets timestamped on the blockchain. And then if brands want to compensate farmers through normal methods, just like regular payment through their supply chain, that's totally okay. We don't want to assume that a farmer in the Campo has internet, has a cell phone, has the technical capacity to interact with like a crypto wallet. Maybe one day soon that'll be possible, but we definitely aren't assuming that right now.
Any other questions? I have a question. So, like, how soon do you want to launch your product in Costa Rica? Because I find it extremely interesting, but you know, with blockchain, things always difficult to predict.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all it takes right now for us to start a pilot program is to be friends with a lot of farmers, and we are. and to be able to get satellite imagery and the geospatial coordinates of where those farmers' land is, and some information from them about their practices on the farm, and then so we can start training our models to recognize what's happening. And then if there is a funder that's interested in sponsoring regeneration, that's really the key here. There has to be someone interested in paying for those rewards. And there are lots of people. So that's where the relationship would start, and we can start to build a project around that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Claire. Very interesting. Yep, one question.
Rodolfo, it's my name. What type of satellite imagery are you using?
Oh, what type of satellite imagery? Great question. So we are really big fans of the satellite imagery from Sentinel-2, which is a satellite run by Europe. Sentinel provides free images at 10 meter per pixel resolution, which is pretty good, as well as many multispectral bands, because what we use about the images isn't just how it appears to the human eye. There are many different lights that are captured in a satellite image. So it's not just RGB, it's also infrared radiation. And it's really those bands that give us the most information about something like plant cover. And then on top of that, we're working on a partnership with Planet, which has the largest constellation of satellites, over 100 satellites up in orbit right now. They have these tiny shoebox-sized satellites called doves, and they image at 3 meters per pixel. So they're incredible, and there's so many other amazing satellites up there that we hope to use. Thanks, everyone.